Hey everyone, welcome back to Will's Bills Fan. We just got done celebrating last night because we finally paid off the Yukon. It inspired us to want to make this video to tell you about our financial journey. And we also have an important question to ask all of you, and we need you to weigh in and let us know what you think, but we'll share that question at the end, so stay tuned. So if you get bored with the video, make sure you just skip to the end and listen to the question and then weigh in, because we really want to hear from you guys about something we've been thinking about. With that, we want to tell you about how we went from strapped in debt, not making very much money, to now feeling really good about where we're at financially and have a lot of hope for the future. So let's get started.
Okay, so growing up, what was your experience like with money, or how did you see it?
I grew up poor. I grew up with a single dad and my sister Amy, and we basically lived off of welfare, paycheck to paycheck. Never really had much as far as food in the house and clothes and luxury items of any kind. So it was hard times for us, but that was just my normal. So it never was a thing where I was feeling all that bad about it, although I did know that other people around me were experiencing more luxury in their lives. When I was 13 years old, I was offered a job. Yeah, it was illegal, but we didn't tell anybody. But
weren't you driving the truck too?
Yeah, but that was when I was 14.
Oh, okay.
So my boss sent me to go get a concrete mixer and some concrete, and I drove the truck down and got a concrete mixer and some concrete. You gotta get the job done.
Yeah.
Anyway, real early on, I discovered the value of work, and it wasn't for the money, it was just for the value of being productive and producing something and being active. And then later I did connect it to money. I realized that not only was working great, but it put some money in my pocket, but I just spent it. I spent it on anything that made me happy, and I never was taught or thought about investing for the future, putting money away, anything like that. So any money I made, I pretty much blew right away. And that continued into my Navy years. Right after high school, I joined the Navy for 6 years, and that trend continued, but in an even worse way, because I was getting loans for a house, multiple vehicles, motorcycles, signature loans, credit cards. I just acquired all this credit and money, blew it on whatever I wanted, and pretty much made a mess of my finances. And that's what I brought to our marriage. What about you?
Yeah, growing up for me, I would say I was middle to upper class, and my parents never really taught me a ton about money, but they did teach good work ethic. And so around 14, as soon as I legally could get a job, I did. And I knew the value of work. I knew the value of money. I really wanted a car when I was 16. So for those 2 years, I worked really hard, saved up. And
did you pay full price for your car, or did they split it with you?
From what I remember, my parents did a thing where I saved up for a car and they matched whatever.
Oh, the old matching incentive.
It worked because I was very motivated to make money so I could have a car. And I did as soon as I turned 16. Got my license, had a car. And my mindset around money was like, Jess, you work hard, you make money, you can buy the things you want. And so I continued to work throughout high school. So when I turned 18 and was getting ready to go to college, my parents said, you need to get a credit card. And that's just kind of what I assumed every 18-year-old did, because you need to build your credit, because if you don't have good credit, then you can't buy a car or a house.
So you knew about credit at least. I never knew about credit. I just knew that if you get a credit card, you can buy stuff.
Yeah.
I never connected it to a credit score or anything like that.
Yeah, I did have a knowledge of that, but it wasn't even a category in my mind to think about the future, to think about retirement. I mean, as an 18-year-old, I'm just trying to make money to do the things I want to do in the moment. And so that's kind of where I was going into college. You go to college with the expectation that you're going to get a really great job and be able to pay off all those loans. After college, I had like $25,000-$30,000 in debt and got some decent jobs, but not nearly enough to make that loan go away in a short amount of time. So when we met, I was about $30,000 in debt from that school loan.
How much did I have? I probably had $150,000 in debt. I owned a home, a car, a truck, a motorcycle, signature loan, credit cards, and then a different loan that I co-signed on for someone. It could have been 180,000. Yeah, it was a lot. So the turning point for both of us, after we had both kind of made a wreck of our finances when we were young, more so me than her, was her dad, Frank, even when we were dating, said, hey, you guys need to go take this financial course. It was called Crown Financial. So we went through that, and our eyes were open to the reality of financial education, and you can actually learn what to do with your money and how to plan for the future. And we immediately became passionate about that subject. We took another course called Financial Peace, Dave Ramsey, if you're familiar with him. And we really soaked up all that information and went to work right away to come up with a plan to clean up our finances and start getting out of debt. So essentially, we sold the house that I owned, sold the truck, paid off the signature loan, the credit cards, paid off her loans and the signature loan that I had, and we did it all in about 14 months. I think the actual payoff amount after selling stuff was $60,000?
60 or 70, yeah.
$60,000 or $70,000. And so once we came up with a plan to pay off all of our debt, we really got to work executing on the plan. And she was working a couple jobs. I had my job with the FAA and working side jobs, and we just started living on as little as we could and putting as much as we could toward all of our debt. And we ended up paying off about $60,000 in 14 months, which is hustling.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, the cool thing is that overall it felt really good. Our quality of life was extremely low at the time. We're living in the ghetto, we're eating beans all the time and any kind of cheap food we can get our hands on. We weren't going out and doing much, but it was still so much fun because it was this very exciting thing to be able to turn our finances around and start thinking about the future and how far we could go with our finances. So the takeaway, I think, for us was anyone that wants to get crazy and clean up their finances and really work hard, you might think that it's daunting and scary, but it really is exhilarating and fun. And it gave us a project to work on together at the beginning of our marriage, and it brought us closer, and it gave us a chance to really get on the same page with our finances. And that has served us well for our entire marriage of almost 11 years now.
Yeah, so shortly after our get out of debt experience, we started having kids. We helped start a church in downtown Anchorage, and we ended up buying a condo right in downtown. We were about 15 minutes walk from the church, and we wanted a place that we didn't have to mow, we didn't have to shovel snow, we didn't have to do anything, because we knew that having kids, but then also starting a church would just be so consuming of our time, and it was a total blur, but such a fun season of life. So yeah, this condo really was perfect. It was our first home together, and there's a lot of things I enjoyed about it.
How sweet.
Him, not so much.
Yeah, our advice to you guys is to never, ever, ever buy a condo, because you will have to deal with the demons from hell, which is the condo association board. Okay, they hate you and they want to ruin your life, and anything good you have going on, any good mood that you're in, they want to destroy it, and they will. Now, won't they?
Yeah, we could probably go on
she's
this rant for
she's like
an hour.
Super optimistic and all that, and even she was tormented to the core of her being, and we hate them together.
He's a lot more passionate.
Even she was driven to madness by the board.
But it was a good experience.
We got some value out of the condo.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have to spend a lot of time on home maintenance, and we were close to where we were spending a lot of time.
Yeah.
But around that same time, I was driving an old 72 GMC it should not have been a daily driver for me, and I just didn't have time to maintain this thing. So I needed a new truck, which was a problem because we were so indoctrinated by Dave Ramsey, no debt ever, you always pay cash. And I'm like, I don't have the cash to get a vehicle that's going to meet my needs with the standard that I have which is I want something nice that's not going to be a distraction for me. So we went into this 3-month deliberation about selling the old truck, which I had put a lot of money into.
How much money?
Enough, okay? I put about $35,000 into this old classic vehicle.
It was pretty, but
It was
yeah,
sick.
it wasn't a daily driver.
So we sold that and then ended up buying me a 2-year-old truck for $35,000. But man, it literally took 3 months to finally be on the same page about doing that, because we were going to go back into debt.
But then about 6 months into having that car payment, we were done with it. It was eating away at us, seeing $600-700 a month go out of our account, and we took money from our savings and just paid it off, and then worked on building our savings back up. But it felt so great to cancel that payment.
Yeah, I think we had that loan for about a year. But it was interesting because we knew that we were still very passionate about being very stable in our finances and not having any debt, except for the home that we were in. But then a couple more years later, the same thing happened with her vehicle.
Yeah.
She was driving a 2005 GMC Yukon, and it was really starting to show its age, and 2 kids now, and we decided it was basically time to buy a brand new Denali Yukon.
Like 35 miles on it, I think.
Well, yeah, it was brand new.
Yeah.
But a total luxury item, and not really something we had ever done before, but we were doing really good financially, making more money than we had ever. And we have expensive tastes, so we decided we're just going to get this awesome luxury vehicle and make the payments. That was about 1.5 years ago. And again, we got 6 months into the loan and we're like, not into the payment, which, to share with you the numbers, we bought the Yukon for $67,000 and didn't put any money down on it. And the payment was $1,064 a month with a 4.35 interest rate.
It's crazy to say now.
Yeah, it feels weird to say that because that's a huge payment. The biggest thing for me was really limiting our cash flow every month, and I love to maximize our cash flow to have the most opportunity with investments and just being able to do stuff. So we went to work 6 months ago and just went nuts on it and scraped together every bit of cash we could. We sold some stuff. We saved in January from not spending money. Go check out that series if you haven't already. And we just got it done.
Yeah, that January challenge really helped me see how much we could save and how close we were to paying that thing off, because we had originally given ourselves a June payoff date as our goal. And
you did.
Yeah, I did. He wanted that thing paid off the second we drove it out of the lot. But
yeah, I get nuts.
For me, I'm like, we just don't have the money, so how can we pay it? And he's over here like, well, we can sell this and we can sell that. And he just gets crazy, which for my personality type is really good to have that challenge me,
because you tend to think, just make the payments.
Yeah,
and then eventually it'll be done.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are we not putting everything we have toward this? It's just a difference in personalities, but
yeah,
she slows me down when I need to be slowed down, and I push her when she needs to be pushed. So it works really well. One of the pillars of our marriage is being on the same page financially, and although we have different styles, we always have an equal vote in all of our decisions, and we never make a move unless we're both on board. So that's been really good for us throughout this journey. And
that hasn't come easy. We were almost 11 years into marriage and have not always been on the same page, but we get there. It started with requiring that we had to have a glass of wine or two whenever we would talk finances, because I would tend to get upset.
And she needed wine to feel better.
That sounds horrible.
We have a healthy amount of friction at times talking about money.
Yeah, we never have knockdown, drag out fights about it, because we do have that foundation of like, we play an equal part. And we've been doing this long enough. We pretty much know how each other thinks about money. So shortly after we bought the new Yukon, we found this house on Zillow, and
$600,000, way more than we ever thought we would spend on a house.
Yeah, we had sold our condo and we were actually renting at the time when we found this place, and it wasn't even in our ballpark as a house that we could afford. but we saw it on Zillow and it was like the house for us. We came and looked at it and had those warm fuzzies, and 3 days later made an offer. And yeah, 600,000. What was our payment when we first moved in? 3,500 a month.
Yeah, it was a little scary because we had just bought that rig and had $1,000 payment every month. But a couple years ago, my grandpa gave us some good advice. He said, when you're going to go buy a house, get a little more than you think you could afford. And I kind of was scratching my head at that one going, what? And then he told me the story about when he bought his house. Basically, his point is that you're always going to make more money going through life, and something like a house is going to become more and more affordable the more time that goes by. And that's absolutely been true for us. That $3,500 payment was doable for us. And then we refinanced and dropped our interest rate a full point from 3.25 down to 2.25. And we didn't have to pay any money out of pocket for that deal. It was really cool how that all went down.
Yeah.
But our payment is now down at $2,900, and we've paid off the rig. So it has, just within a year and a half, become way more affordable. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing now is that we're debt free again, except for the house. And we have quite a bit more cash flow to start preparing for the future. As far as investment options, we have considered the stock market already. We took a class on value investing, which is like a Warren Buffett way of investing into companies, as well as options trading, and really spent a lot of time looking into how that works and the risk to reward ratios of that type of investing. And I think we will dabble in that in the future as a way to diversify, but it's not something we're super comfortable with and haven't been able to get it to produce a whole lot for us. So the thing we're really excited about for the future is to get it involved in real estate. We want to maybe buy a fourplex or a couple of single family homes and rent those out and allow that to snowball over the next 12 years and 8 months before I retire so that we can eventually reach a point where we're millionaires and can retire and pass on a really great legacy to our kids.
We love anything and everything that has to do with finances. We love sharing our experience. We love hearing other people's experience. And one of the things that we have found is that a lot of people don't love to share exact numbers of how much they make, how much they give, how much they save. And
it's like asking a woman her weight or her age or whatever. Like, society has decided we don't talk about that, which for some, I mean, I understand the category of not sharing certain types of information, but with finances, we have always found it so helpful to know other people's numbers so that we can kind of compare, we can learn how we're doing, we can be inspired by how far other people have come or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I guess we want to know how you would feel if we were to share our specific numbers. Does that come across to you like we're opening up our trench coat on you? Or do you think it would be really interesting, maybe helpful, maybe inspiring, and not weird at all? What would you say?
My gut feeling is to not share it only because of that, like, societal, like, no one talks about money type of thing.
You're afraid people aren't going to like you.
I am the peacemaker. Avoid conflict at all costs. Okay. But we've all run into we've all experienced that man or woman that has just flaunted how much they make. I'm just saying.
That's so true. Yeah, we've definitely heard people overshare in a way that is helpful. Tacky. It's like, oh. So that's what you're talking about. Yeah. We don't want to come across that way.
Yeah, and I know we won't, but we are curious how other people see that kind of interaction.
Yeah.
And just to give a little tiny snippet, we spend about $1,500 a month, or I should say we budget $1,500 a month for our food budget. That includes alcohol. That includes alcohol, coffee, restaurants, and groceries.
And alcohol.
We've heard some people say that they spend $1,000 a month on their food budget. And we're like, dang, are we just overspending in areas that we maybe don't need to?
And we've tried to like spend less in that category and we fail every time. We're like, we just can't do it. I mean, I think our best this last year or two was a month where we spent like $1,200 or $1,300, and that was a struggle. So what's wrong with us? We don't know because we haven't heard from other people on this
Well, yeah,
in a way that's helpful.
that's what works for us. I wouldn't say that there's something wrong with that, but we feel like the more we know about how much other people spend on that, it could just be helpful information for us. And so that's our hope in sharing our journey, is that other people would be encouraged and maybe be able to kind of tweak certain things in their budget that might help them out. So
Yeah. Please comment and let us know what your thoughts are on this question specifically and the rest of the stuff we said. Hit a thumbs up or a thumbs down just so we get some feedback, and we're excited to make more videos about finances in the future. So stay tuned.
we'll see you guys on the next one.